Right. Hello and welcome, Just a Family. This is giving you something to talk about, or Just Alive as I like to call it. I'm your host, Melissa Krechler. I'm an identity coach, spiritual teacher, business mentor, creator, and founder of not only Just Alive TV, but also the Women Supporting Women Can Network. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about who are you in this moment. And our sponsor today is RealityDreams. They're offering you their ebook, My Morning Practice, 3 Ways to Center Your Spirit. So go and check that out. Link in the description. You get a little synopsis of what it's about. Go and check that out. Again, link in the description and go and download that. I can't wait for today's episode. So I'm going to hand it over to my guest speaker, Edna Castillo. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much. So this is Edna Castillo, and I am the founder of RealityDreams. It's a life coaching. I am a transformational life coach with healing and wellness in mind. After undergoing my own rigorous cancer journey, breast cancer journey in 2020, my life coaching has taken off to serving people who are in a rigorous health journey. So I love helping anyone that is have been diagnosed, and having had the tools for life coaching for my own experience and seeing what a difference it made in my life. That's what I love to do now.
And I want to take a side note and say that how many people do we know? You and I are both coaches. We've all been through, very intense, high stress, high trauma journeys. And how many of us have taken those journeys and created something powerful where we're now helping other people? And I think that's part of what this message is, not for everyone to become a life coach, but one of the messages that this show brings are, who are you in this moment? And with asking yourself, who are you in this moment? It's how you deal with stress, how you move through stress. It's how you process and heal through trauma, and who you want to be, not just in this moment, but every moment moving forward. And that's what today's show is about. And I can't wait to share that. So when we ask somebody, who are you in this moment? A lot of people, when you're in a high stress or high trauma moment, a cancer diagnosis, domestic violence, addiction, little traumas, big traumas, doesn't matter where you're at. When you're in a very high emotionally or a highly emotional moment, you can lose sight of who you are in that moment, right? Being diagnosed with cancer, you probably lost yourself to that diagnosis, right? And in that moment, it almost defines you, or you feel like it defines you. Now I'm going to be known as this person, or now that, and you, again, lose yourself in that moment, but you're not actually losing yourself. You're just so overwhelmed and so overcome with that emotional level that you don't see yourself in that moment.
And I think that is one of the reasons why it's so important to be, when you're entering into a new challenge, or when you're in the middle of a new challenge, to take a step back and really understand and ask yourself, who am I in this moment? That is one of the primary things I did at the diagnosis level, where I was told this is what's happening. Before I got any treatments, is okay, how am I going to show up in this moment? In this moment being, it could have been 6 months, a year, 5 years. I didn't know how long it was going to take, but it just set the stage for how I was going to show up in life while undergoing the treatment. So in life, as you stated, we catch ourselves in situations where we're in a high stress situation, and we may not, our cognition actually sees us behaving in a certain way that we may not even like. So at that point in time, it's a great time to basically say, hey, wait a second here. I can choose to continue going down this road, or I can choose who I'm going to start showing up as. Who am I going to be? Am I going to be a victor? Or am I going to be a victim? Mm-hmm. Am I going to be encouraging, or am I going to discourage? Am I going to judge, or am I going to encourage? It's making those decisions along the way. And that's really, it's like a spiritual muscle that you're building when you're making those decisions. Yep. That's what I found.
Absolutely. one of the things that I like to do, and I was just Googling because I never remember the number. There are 86,400 moments in a day. 86,400. Now, for anybody in watching or catching the replay, how many, if you had $86,400 in every day, how would you show up? Who would you be? What would you be able to do? What would you be able to think? How would you feel? You have unlimited, if you take that 86,400 seconds and turn that into money, the possibilities are limitless, right? Because you can do so many things. You have so many more options, so many more ideas, so many more opportunities to do something that you wouldn't have done before, right? You're not going to go, oh my goodness, I just won $86,400. I don't know what to do now, right? You might, if for a second, and then you're going to be like, well, I want to buy this and I want to buy that and I want to invest this and I want to take care of this and I want to put some aside for my kids, or whatever you choose to do with that amount of money. Now imagine that's daily. It's daily though. Like every 24 hours, you're getting another 86,400 seconds or $86,400 where you get to choose what you're doing. And if you take those moments and go, okay, if you've had a diagnosis, if you are in a high stress situation, a big trauma, little trauma, if you are emotionally unstable, that's one moment. In that moment, absolutely, you're a victim. In that moment, you are absolutely overwhelmed. Let yourself feel it. Let yourself feel it.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And then go, who am I?
Yeah. Then the decision comes. There's no circumventing our human experience. It's part of who we are. And it's honoring that human experience, because without those human moments, also, we don't get the choice. We don't get the ability to choose. It's feeling, like you said, a victim allows us to then realize, okay, there's another choice to make, or I can continue doing this. I think the key though is not, staying there for too long. Because then what actually ends up happening is you're going down a rabbit hole that it's harder and harder to get away from or get out of. But yeah, totally experiencing what you're experiencing allows us to then see the difference of what can be. It's where the longing of something better comes in. The discontent of the experiences that we have now allow us to really, really understand what it is that we want in our lives, what we would long to have instead of the experience that we're currently having. Yeah, so definitely.
So I created a PDF. It's called Embrace Your Positivity. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I created what's called the Rockstar Method. And for anybody who is in that moment, and if you're feeling emotionally overwhelmed, if you are in a high emotion state, you don't know who you are, and you can't even ask yourself, who am I in this moment, because you're too overwhelmed, that's when the Rockstar Method comes into play. And I wanted to share it as a tool that you all can use to help you ask yourself that question. Rockstar is, of course, acronyms. I love acronyms, hence Just Alive. So the R, recognize how you feel. That is always absolutely the first step. Recognize how you are feeling in that moment. To ignore that emotion, to ignore that feeling, that there is no healing there. That's just pushing it aside and saving it for another day. You do not want to do that. So recognize how you're feeling. Own your feelings. Own them. They're yours. Nobody else is creating that feeling. Nobody else is creating that thought. Own those feelings and say, these are mine. I have to work through them. Claim them. So claim your power. We are all powerful as hell. We all forget it in the moment, but claim your power. You know you're powerful. You know you're meant for more. Claim your power. Now the K is funny. And I always, every time I say the K, I always think to myself, nobody's going to believe me when I say this, but I want you to understand the K is kneel. It's kneel down and submit. And the reason that I say this is because if you physically kneel down, you have no choice but to release those emotions. If you get to a point where you know how to, and I'm going to go into a training about this futuristically, but kneel down. Kneeling is automatic submission. It has been ingrained in our instinct. It has been ingrained in our subconscious to when we kneel, we are submitting. But we're not submitting to other people. We're submitting to ourselves. And that's the key difference there. I'm not going to tell you to kneel. You're going to do it on your own and you get your own power. Sit in the moment and just breathe. Take charge of yourself, acknowledge the truth, and respond to the situation. You're taking away the reaction. You're taking away the, I'm going to leave it for another day. You're going to take away your lack of control, and you're going to take away your inability to focus. All with that method. And I want everybody to understand that you can be your own rock star. Edna did it herself, right? We all do the rock star method. We just don't know we're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the rock star method because it really does allow for the one thing that needs to happen. It's surrender, which you describe as kneeling. Mm-hmm. And surrendering doesn't mean that it's okay. What's going on, it's okay. It just means that you're releasing it and letting go and being okay in that moment of what it is, whatever it is that you're feeling. And from then on, things will move forward. Yep. But the more, there's that saying, right? What you resist persists. Well, surrendering will allow you to actually move from resistance, because when you resist, things start bumping into you. You start getting friction. One of the things that I teach my clients is, people say fight, the fight with cancer. And I'm like, no, we're not here to fight cancer. It's not that you're going to surrender to cancer, but you're going to surrender to the moment that cancer is bringing and really understand what is it that I can learn from this moment, or how can I grow from this moment? So that whole thing about fighting cancer, it's one of the things that I'm working with my clients to submit rather than fight, because there's an actual law, the law of surrender, of the flow of going with the flow of life rather than going anti-flow of life.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've interviewed for the show, I've interviewed a few people who have been touched by cancer. And one of them created a company called Kissed by Cancer. And every person that I have done a pre-screening interview who has had cancer has told me that it was life-changing for them in a better way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because now they focus on themselves. Now they put themselves first. Now they know who they are and they live that experience every day, no matter how much time they have left, right? I think cancer is one of those things that teach us that we do have an expiration date, right? We don't know when that is, but we do have one. Yeah. And when we're living and we are fighting everything that's going on in our lives, and we get stuck, and there's nothing wrong with anyone who gets stuck in an emotional cyclone, because that's exactly what happens. Nobody's teaching us, and this is one of my passions, nobody's teaching us how to handle our experiences, how to acknowledge how we're feeling and use that feeling and surrender to it and move forward and say, you know what, I've got this. And this might be shitty in the moment, pardon my language, it might be crap right now, but I get to decide how it is for me moving forward. I get to decide who I am, how I'm going to respond, and what I'm going to do next. And I get to do that every moment of every day. That's 86,400 moments every day where I get to say, I'm going to be me and I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's about the decision of who you're going to be, how I'm going to show up in this moment is individual to you. Mm-hmm. So just like whatever trauma that you're facing, it's individual to you. that's the other thing that we have to contend with as human beings. We're always doing the comparison mode, right? Comparing ourselves with so-and-so did it this way, or so-and-so did it that way, giving ourselves grace to show up as us, no matter what it is. You know, if we're down on the dumps or we're really high up on life, whatever it is, we're doing our life. And that's the only life we have. So that is the moment to always rejoice every single moment. Just like you said with cancer, that's what it really allowed me to do, to understand how precious each and every single moment is, because I do know more than the regular fellow now that I do have an expiration date. You know, we all know it, but it's more in depth, more in my subconscious mind than other people, because I have lived this traumatic experience that brought me closer to that reality. So in appreciation and gratitude for life every single day, right? That's what it brought. That's what the gift is that many people talk about, that there's a greater appreciation for the abundance that life has and the gifts that are given, no matter how ugly or nasty or traumatic they may be. Just finding the golden nuggets in each moment is the gift of life. Yeah.
One of my greatest passions, and I'm glad that you yourself have experienced it and teach other people that, because it is so important. We have this one life. We have, from the day we are born to the day we die, to experience life. And one of the guarantees, we have 3 guarantees in life. We have taxes, because whether you're buying something or paying something, you're paying taxes. You have death, and you have negativity. Every single one of us is going to experience somebody. Now, I want to remind everybody, and you had mentioned it already, we are having an individualistic experience. You can have, and we talked about this yesterday, we talked about when you feel like ending it all, because that was yesterday's episode. And one of the things to realize is that no 2 people are going to experience the same thing exactly the same way. You can have a set of identical twins who grow up in an abusive alcoholic family and have the same experiences, the same treatment, everything. And yet one grows up to be an alcoholic and one never touches a drink. Same trauma, same situations, completely different choices, because our experiences are different.
Yeah, totally. It's it's the choices that we make. It's also the vision that we have for our life. You know, I know that that's one of the things that carried me through with the experience of cancer, is that vision of, you know, who am I going to be in this moment? I have 2 grown kids. I'm going to show up as a powerful mom. I'm not going to allow this disease to shrink me in any way, so they can see me in a different light. I want to show them that they're capable of overcoming no matter what. So sometimes we do it for ourselves. Sometimes we do it for, you know, who we love, our kids, our family, our, you know, or sometimes it's just the goal, right? Who do we want to be? Because we have a goal of, you know, the supposed success that we're seeking. So every day you wake up saying, who am I going to be today? Well, I'm going to be confident. I'm going to be joyful. I'm going to be, you know, whatever it is that you want to exude in life. And the more you do that, the more you become that person that you're telling yourself who you're going to be and how you're going to show up. It's really amazing. I find it empowering to do that on a daily basis. And that's why I created that, the 3 tools to center with your spirit, because it's one of those things that if you continue to do it on a daily basis, you start growing the spiritual muscle to be that person that you're seeking to be. It's like your own self-image changes by doing that, because you actually start believing that you are that person, and eventually you are that person. It's a magical thing that happens, and I don't know if you've experienced that as well.
So my first business is I'm an identity coach. So
yes.
yeah. So that's one of the main benefits, is reconnecting to who you truly are, right? And when you do that, you are reconnecting to who you truly are. That never changes. Our experiences change, our thoughts change, our beliefs change, but who we are at our core never changes.
Yeah.
It grows, it expands, but it doesn't change. And when we reconnect to that and go, okay, I have cancer, I'm not going to let it get me down. I'm stronger than this. I'm going to pull through. I'm going to look at this in a positive light. That's you reconnecting to how you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And your ability to look at that differently. And it's powerful. I again can't stress this enough for anybody watching or catching the replay. It is so easy. And I'm going to say it's easier to lose yourself in that negative space because it becomes comfortable. But when you do reconnect to yourself, and when you do process, and you do get to a point where you can ask yourself, who am I in this moment? Do you like that question? Do you like the answer to that question? Right? And you have a choice. That's a parting of taking back your power, owning who you are, and saying, okay, I can either let this kill me slowly, or shrink me, as you said, because I love that analogy, or I can stand up and I can be the person I know I can be.
Yeah. The one thing that I think that's our audience may want to also just be reminded of who as the humanity, the human beings, right? What are we doing here? What is it that our calling? And I don't mean purpose of, being the career. I'm saying, what is our real calling in life? I believe it's to love and to grow. So keeping in mind those two things, and keeping in mind that question, who am I being in this moment? That will give you more substance as to the decisions of who you really want to be, right? Because you want to be loving and you want to be able to grow. So I love the fact that you said, sometimes we may decide to stay there, but at the same time, being in that comfortable space, will that lead you to growth? Ask yourself that question, right? Will staying in this comfortable space, yes, I may feel cozy, and at the same time uncomfortable, because it may be perhaps what you're facing is not something that you desire. So you're still uncomfortable. So would you rather be uncomfortable with having life be the thing that's causing you this, or would you rather be uncomfortable by you making a decision to move away and step into your greatness, step into who you're really meant to be, which is a loving person that grows? That's the thing.
Look at how many celebrities and how many influential people in the world have gone from nothing to everything. And I'm not talking just fame and fortune. I'm talking about just look at Sylvester Stallone. Right? When he created Rocky, he gave his dog up because he had no money and was living on the streets, and ended up, putting himself forward still, and got the contract for Rocky. Right? That was his screenplay. That was his story. And it was transformational. Oprah Winfrey. I always say I want to be the next Oprah Winfrey with this talk show. She struggled immensely. And look at how transformational she is now. Look at Edna, cancer. And look at where you are now. We all have that choice. We all have that ability. I love that you said the experience of life. When I started my spiritual journey, and I'm a spiritual teacher, I work with newbies, spiritual newbies. My spiritual journey, I came to the understanding of what the purpose of life is. The purpose of life is to experience. On that other side, there is no negativity. There is no, evil. All of the bad stuff that we experience is here. And so when we experience that, we grow, we learn, and we grow. And, I don't know how many times I've experienced negativity and I've grown out of it and I've created something out of it. And while it sucks that it happens, absolutely nobody wants to get cancer. Nobody wants to, experience any negativity that life throws our way, but it's a guarantee. And learning how to acknowledge it, process it, learn from it, and grow from it, that's the key. That's the purpose of life.
At the same time, I think it's important to, I totally agree with what you're saying. And the other piece is, at times along the way, when things are going okay, life is speaking to us. And at times I've experienced in my life that it's when I'm not listening to life that there's that something that is thrown that it's the thing that I really are not looking forward to, right? So for instance, there was a period of my life in my life that there was a little voice saying, is that all there is in life? Is that all there is? And I knew that little voice was my inner knowing that I needed to step away from this really comfortable job. It was a high paying job. I love the people. I love what I was doing. Yet I knew deep inside that the next step for me was to find something else, find something to serve. And I ignored it and I ignored it and I ignored it until I got laid off. So it's like life took care of it, saying, okay, you know what? You weren't listening. I'm going to take care of it for you. Now figure it out. So there's like me knowing that formula, or knowing that life speaks to us in these moments. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm listening. Now let me find what it is that you want me to do. And that's what led me to life coaching. But, I wanted to bring to the audience that piece that at times when we're walking along the path and we hear our inner wisdom, or we see signs, or we are longing for something different, start listening. Mm-hmm. Because if we're not listening soon enough, we're going to get that turmoil one way or another. So perhaps catch it earlier than when it really starts, really is the turmoil that you don't want in your life.
Yep.
I don't know.
Just like your book says, living your intuitive genius, that's your intuition. That is your inner knowing. And we all have that gift. When you learn to accept, acknowledge, and love who you are, you start to listen to that intuitive genius. And even somebody like me, I am very confident and comfortable in my identity. There are times where it pipes up and I don't listen. And trust me, it is instant karma. For me, it's instant karma. When my son was not even 2 years old, he fell asleep on the bus, was taking the city bus. And all of a sudden I thought, I need to wake him up before I get off this bus. And I thought, no, I'll carry him off. I'm going to be a good mom and I'm going to carry him off the bus. Well, I carried him off the bus. And as soon as I put one foot outside that bus, I fell and twisted my ankle. And if I hadn't have carried him, I probably wouldn't have. So little things like that. I don't know how many times I always say spirituality, and your intuition especially, is like a toddler, where it's like, hi. And it's all sweet and cute at first. And it's like, hi. And then all of a sudden, if you don't listen, it gets more insistent. Mom, to the point where it's throwing a temper tantrum in the middle of the store floor. Whatever, like, you get to that point where it's like, boom, you have no choice but to listen. You have no choice but to see. You have no choice. A lot of the times when you're living in a very highly emotional, strung out, stressed out, depressed situation, it's because there's something there that you weren't listening to, and now you're stuck.
Mm-hmm. Or like, I remember when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, one of the things that came to me was exactly that. For the longest time, Edna, you've been saying that you're gonna not work too hard. You've been saying that you're going to take time off. You've been saying that you're going to pay more attention to your family. You've been saying so all of these things that I've been telling myself all along, because I knew that was the right thing to do, but I kept ignoring it and shoving it, ignoring it and shoving it. And finally, light just said, well, you know what? All these things you've been telling it, you got to do it now, because now you have a crisis. Now you've been diagnosed with breast cancer. And that was the biggest gift that allowed me to slow down with life, honor my family, honor myself, learn more. It was just the culmination of all the things that I was telling myself I was going to do. I finally got to do while I was undergoing the rigorous treatments of cancer. So there you go.
Most people will understand that lesson. Unfortunately, some don't. I'm going to use my husband. He didn't. My husband, I kept telling him, you need to take time for you. You need to make time for you. Well, he wasn't. He was working 6-day work weeks and exhausted and stressed out, and ended up breaking his ankle in 3 spots and couldn't walk for 4 months, 6 months. So now he's back at work full time, and
life sat him down.
It did. And yes, so just for anybody watching, please learn those lessons. Listen to your intuition. Ask yourself, use the Rockstar method if you need to. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, please reach out. I'm more than willing to share with you the Rockstar method. But download Edna's, let me just pull it up here. Download Edna's 3 ways to center your spirit, her morning practice. Go, because Edna is our sponsor for today. So definitely go and check that out. Again, can't stress it enough, link in the description. But continually ask yourself, who am I in this moment? And if you have trouble asking yourself that question, if you don't know how to answer that question, or you are too overwhelmed to even attempt to ask yourself those questions, please reach out and ask for help. You can reach either myself or Edna at the links in the description of this episode. We are here to help. It is what we do. Make sure that you get in touch. So Edna, is there anything you'd like to add before we get going?
I would say just listen to your intuitive genius too. Learn to get connected, because in the 3 practices that I teach in the ebook is exactly that, how to get connected with your intuitive genius. So you start listening to the signals that life is sending you, so you can catch those moments of, who am I going to be? And do that on a repeated basis, no matter what is going on, whether you're going to have a great day. You suppose you have a meeting planned at work, and it's going to be a stressful meeting or whatever it may be. You can decide ahead of time, guess what? This is how I'm going to show up, and move forward with that. And chances are that you will show up that way. So it's about listening to, actually watching, planning for your life as you move forward in life, and listening to where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. So yeah, definitely reach out. I'm here as a life coach, as a cancer thriver, survivor, and coach. And I'm an author as well. Living Your Intuitive Genius is a book that got published October of last year.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you so much, Edna, for joining me today. This has been a fantastic episode, one of my favorite topics, and I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. All right, just a family. That is our episode. If you would like to be a guest speaker, guest sponsor, guest blogger, or if you want to see a topic featured on the show, please reach out to us at justalivetv.com. Follow us, like, comment, and share. Don't forget, you are always a part of this conversation. The show is called Giving You Something to Talk About. So if you want to talk about what we're talking about, reach out, comment, like, follow, share, do all of those fun stuff. I'm your host, Melissa Krechler, and I will see all of you on the next episode. Bye.